Thank you very much. So I will call the meeting to order and I will turn it over to Ms. Hyde, our clerk, for roll call.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Ainsley?
Present.
Ash? Carol? Chopawik?
Present.
Demirla has sent in regrets. Dies has sent in regrets. DePaula?
Present.
Drake?
Present.
Fletcher? Fonseca?
Good morning. Present.
Thank you. Grimes has sent in his regrets. Hahn has sent in her regrets. Hyatt?
Present. Good morning.
Jackson?
Present.
Keller has sent in regrets. Layton?
Present.
Matlow?
Present.
Mukherjee? Leshy? Pasternak?
Present.
Pellegrini?
Present.
Peruzza?
Present.
Rosati?
Present.
Santos?
Present.
Sinclair?
Present.
Tang? Go back up to Vice Chair Heath
I'm present.
and Chair Innes. Thank you.
Madam Clerk, I think you said my name. You cut out on my end. Councillor Pleshy.
Yes, I have you here. Thank you, Councillor.
Thank you. Good morning.
Madam
Madam
Clerk,
Clerk,
I got here at the end of the roll call. It's Councillor Carroll.
Great, thank you.
And Councillor Manthis.
Okay, with that, we respectfully acknowledge the lands we are situated on, our traditional territories and treaty lands, in particular those of the Mississaugas of the Credit, as well as the Anishinaabe of the Williams Treaty First Nations, the Huron-Wendat, the Haudenosaunee, and are now home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis peoples. As stewards of the land and water resources within the Greater Toronto Region, Toronto and Region Conservation Authority appreciates and respects the history and diversity of the land and is grateful to have the opportunity to work and meet in this territory. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest or the general nature thereof?
Madam Chair, it's Councillor Ash. I have a declaration. 9.1.3, the conveyance of land to TRCA from Icon Homes at the in the city of Pickering, Altona Road and Finch. I reside in an Icon home immediately adjacent to the property, and I thank you for better.
You're cutting out there, Councillor Ash.
Thank you. My declaration was 9.13.
Yep.
The land conveyance. I reside immediately adjacent to the property in question.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other declarations? Seeing none, can I have a mover of the minutes of the meeting held on May the 20th? Moved by Councillor Matlow, seconded by Mayor Pellegrini. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. There are no delegations, presentations, or correspondence. Section 1, items for Board of Directors action. 7.1, delegated authority to award vendor of record arrangement for rental or construction equipment. 7.2, delegated authority request over summer recess. 7.3, update on memorandums of understanding and requested board approval of progress report. 7.4, City of Markham, Unionville Special Policy Area Boundary Update. 7.5, application for permit pursuant to Section 28-0-1 of the Conservation Authorities Act, Minister Zoning Order under Ontario Regulation 773-21.
Excuse me, Chair. I'd
Yeah.
like to hold 7.4.
Okay.
Thank you.
Are there any holds for 7.5? 7.6, streamlined permit administration. 7.7, Indigenous engagement update.
Madam Chair, can I hold that for a quick question?
Yep. Councillor Carroll. 7.8, finalized Phase 2 regulation under the Conservation Authorities Act. Okay, so I need a mover then for 7.1, 7.2, 7.3, 7.5, 7.6, 7, and 7.8. Moved by Councillor Pasternak, seconded by Councillor Ainsley. All those in favor? That carries. Section 3, items for the information of the board. 8.1, 2021 senior staff expenses. 8.2, summary of policy consultation submissions of recent provincial policy initiatives. 8.3, follow-up report for the award of contract 10036684, vendors of record for supply and delivery of liquid fuel. Can I have a mover, please? Sorry. Mover for 8.1, 8.2, and 8.3. Moved by Councillor Rosati, seconded by Dr. Drake. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Section 1, items for the Board of Action, materials from Executive Committee meeting. 9.1.1, 2021 audited financial statements. 9.1.2, request for tender for supply and delivery of various aggregates to Jim Tovey Lakeview Conservation Area, South Island, and South Cobble Beach. Can I have a mover, please, for 9.1.1 and 9.1.2? Moved by Dr. Chopwick, seconded by Councillor Carroll. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Item 9.1.3, acquisition from Icon Homes. Please note that Councillor Ash is not participating. Any holds? Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Fonseca, seconded by Councillor Layton. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. 9.1.4, acquisition from Cal Leslie Developments Incorporated. 9.1.5, disposition of North Pickering Community Management Incorporated and the Regional Municipality of Durham. 9.1.6, proposal to amend the lease, 360s Kids Support Services. 9.1.7, Uxbridge Trail Sustainability Fund and paid parking at TRCA trailheads.
I'd like to hold that, Madam Chair.
Held by Vice Chair Heath. Can I have a mover then for 9.1.4, 9.1.5, 9.1.6? Moved by Regional Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Carroll. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Section 2, items from Executive Committee. 9.2.1, application for permit pursuant to Section 28-0-1 of the Conservation Authorities Act, Minister Zoning Order, Ontario Regulation 515-21. 9.2.2, request for proposal from Detailed Designs for Colonel Samuel Smith Park, City of Toronto. Can I have a mover, please, for 9.2.1 and 9.2.2? Moved by Councillor Ainsley, seconded by Councillor Ash. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Section 3, items for information of the board. 9.3.1, 2022 3-month financial report. 9.3.2, 2023 preliminary municipal budget update. 9.3.3, first quarter communication summary report. Can I have a mover, please, for Section 3, 9.3.1 through to 9.3.3? By Mayor Pellegrini, seconded by Dr. Chopwick. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Section 4, Ontario Regulations 166-06 as amended. 9.4.1, City of Pickering Icon Homes. 9.4.2, City of Toronto, Toronto and East York Community Council Area, Waterfront Toronto. 9.4.3, City of Vaughan, 1264564 Ontario Limited. 9.4.4, delegated permits for receipt, staff approved and issued. Can I have a mover, please, for items 9.4.1 through to 9.4.4? Moved by Vice Chair Heath and seconded by Councillor DiPaolo. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Closed session. 10.1 OLT Tribunal Case PL 171136 OLT 2022-002104 2466571 Ontario Incorporated 35 and 55 Mountsey Street Files OP-13-012 and Z16-051 City of Vaughan. Can I have a mover, please, of 10.1?
Madam Chair, I'd like to hear a little bit more about what's going on. So it is a closed session. So I'd like to do it.
Okay, so we will hold that. Are there any other items under new business? Seeing or hearing none? Oh, sorry, Dr. Gray, did you want to add something?
I was just going to say I'd like to address the board at the end of the new business.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we'll go back to 7.4, the City of Markham Unionville Special Policy Area Boundary Update, and this item was held by Dr. Drake. Go ahead, please.
Thank you. So I just wanted to get a little bit, if staff could maybe comment on this item. I think my question is, the general takeaway, when I was looking at the map, I wasn't clear what's happening to the special policy area. Like, in general, is it getting smaller or is it expanding? That wasn't clear. If the existing parts are staying or if it's just the new proposed is what's going to be this policy area.
So through the chair, I'm going to ask that Lori Nelson start, and we also have Director Dalla and Nick Lorraine and staff ready to speak to it. We do have slides that can be brought up if that helps, because it is probably useful to have an illustration.
That would be really useful. Thank you.
Good morning, and through the chair, essentially this is a boundary update to reflect new technical information. So there are provincial procedures on how we go about doing this process, because a special policy area is one of the unique circumstances where it requires both minister approvals from Municipal Affairs and Housing and Natural Resources and Forestry. So there's a very iterative process, and what triggered this was the fact that we had new technical information, floodplain information, new 2D modeling, very refined modeling. So as a result of that, it caused us to go back and take a look at the boundary of the SPA that's initiated by the municipality, and we do have the municipal staff person, Patrick Wong, Senior Planner. City of Markham is online as well. So essentially, it's an iterative process looking at the new technical information, looking at the existing boundary, and evaluating the circumstance. In some cases, with the new TD modeling, we have areas where the floodplain went down or was reduced, and so therefore SPA is no longer warranted. So that's, and then other areas where there was a different area that's now identified as being at flood risk. So it's a very iterative process with the municipality. There was a consultation with the municipality, public meetings. There was actually a councillor had a very site-specific with residents, met with our staff. So a very iterative process. Overall, we're actually seeing a reduction in the SPA as a result of this process. So I don't know if you require anything further. We certainly do have the slides. There are a couple of attachments to the report that illustrate that. Does that answer your questions?
Yeah, I have a couple extra questions. So just to make sure that I'm interpreting it right, so I think it's page 27 in the document where you have existing policy area and then proposed policy area. It's just the proposed red that will following this approval,
Exactly.
ministerial approval will be special policy area.
Yep. Yes.
So what kind of process is there to communicate to all of it's quite a number of properties that are either moving out of the policy area or moving in, and what's the process for letting people be aware of these regulations?
There's a very thorough process. It requires an official plan amendment. So there have been statutory public meetings, and when we started the process, so residents would have been notified about this, and we held 2 virtual public meetings, and subsequent to that there was actually one of the area councillors held a meeting with the residents. So there's been lots of consultation as well. This also be reflected in our regulation mapping that we update. So there are areas that would still remain within the floodplain, but not within the special policy area, because we can manage it with our existing one zone approach. So there's been quite a thorough. Sure.
Can we put up the map? I'd like to see the map again, in color, I hope.
So through the clerk, I don't know if that's the clerk or Mary Ann. We have Mary Ann Burns, who is the project manager on this file.
Through the chair, Mary Ann should be able to share her screen. If not, please let me know and I'll bring it up.
Okay, good morning through the chair. Good morning, everyone. Bear with me while I share my screen.
Perhaps we should get the clerk to pull it up, Mary Ann.
Sorry, I've got. No, I think I'm almost there. I'm sorry, maybe Joanne, would you have it handy?
There we go. Thanks, Joanne. Could you just put it in slideshow mode, and Mary Ann, we can speak to it. So Mary Ann, do you want to walk us through the slides, please?
Yes, so next slide, Joanne, please. So it was in 2019 that TRCA had updated, 2018, 2019, it was endorsed at our board that TRCA updated the floodplain mapping for the Rouge River watershed, which affected this area in Markham, Unionville, historic village of Unionville, where there was an existing special policy area approved by the province and had been initiated by the city of Markham. Markham took the new floodplain mapping information and used it to inform an update to the special policy area. They also looked at the lands that didn't make sense to no longer be in the flood. They weren't in the floodplain. They didn't need the special policy area designation any longer. There were also non-developable lands that were designated SPA. So with the update to the boundary, those lands were removed as well. So there is a provincial process, as Laurie mentioned, that needs to be followed by the municipality and by TRCA for these updates. So that was followed in collaboration between the province, the TRCA, and city staff. As Laurie had mentioned, it ended up in a reduction of the area within the SPA from about 43 hectares to 19 hectares. Next slide, please. So this is an example of one of the ways TRCA works with its municipal partners, assists them in these updates to manage the risk associated with the flood hazard. Our GIS team and engineering services team produce these flood risk maps that the provincial staff require for the update along with the municipality. And it looks at areas of lower risk, which are lower depths and lower velocities of the floodplain, and mid risk, and then higher risk, and assigns the special policy area or adjusts the special policy area boundary accordingly. Next slide, please. And here's that map you may have been referring to that shows in red the new special policy area and the existing one, the current one right now in blue, and then the yellow line, hopefully you can see, is the actual flood line as it is today, the updated 2019 floodplain. And I think that's it.
Thanks.
Chair, were there any more questions?
Just one last question. Thank you. If you bear with me. I'm just wondering, are there any other special policy areas that are going under similar review or updates at the moment?
There are quite a few throughout our jurisdiction. I would defer to Lori on that, please.
Yes, several of them. As our municipal partners are updating their official plans, that often triggers it because, again, it's done through that process. So we do have others in our jurisdiction. We've had others that have gone through a comprehensive review already. So as we get new information, this ultimately influences those updates, but they are municipally initiated.
Okay. All right. Those are all my questions. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any other questions? Seeing none, can I have a mover, Dr. Drake, and seconded by Vice Chair Heath? All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Item 7.7, Indigenous Engagement Update, and this was held by Councillor Carroll.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. I read through the whole thing after reading the recommendations and noticing, early mention of Black Creek Pioneer Village, the work going on there. Actually, the whole agenda and reading the whole agenda. Thank you for preparing us for, all of us will probably have very long council agendas in July. Thanks for getting us ready for that, because this one took forever. But in the Indigenous update, there's a great explanation of the work going on to re-envision Black Creek Pioneer Village. But at the end of it all, it comes down to reporting at the end of this year to begin looking at budget requirements. I guess I can assume, since we're going into Ontario municipal election season, that's probably going to be next year. Does that jeopardize us putting any early funding or requests to the municipalities in for 2023 budgets?
Michael, did you want to take that question?
Through the chair, we're currently doing an assessment, and we'll try and build it in for 2023, but knowing that it's a municipal election year, we understand that there's not too much of an opportunity to build in additional funding for the coming year.
Okay. So I'm wondering if is there already built in, I took a look at what we have there, is there built in, enough money to at least make sure that there's enough coming out of operating right now for a robust process between the City of Toronto budget and resources, whether staff or financial, coming from TRCA? Is there enough that at least the process that's going on right now can be robust if consultants are needed or whatever, to begin looking at reimagining, and also, you know, I would assume some rebranding. I would assume at some point we have to tackle the difficult question of if we even want to continue to use the word pioneer. So that may involve needing consultants to come in. Is there enough working capital to be able to get that deep into the process?
Yes, and I'm going to throw it over to Daryl Gray to continue addressing that.
Thanks.
Thanks, Michael, and thank you, Councillor, and through the chair. So we do currently have some operating budget to help us get started on this. We've been meeting with city staff, as well as Councillor Perutz has been very helpful in advocating for this. Initially, you would have seen there was a recommendation within the report that went to council related to reconciliation at the city that did speak to need at the village. So our intent, while we may not necessarily make the 2023 budget cycle, is to continue to work with city staff to ensure that the village is funded adequately to facilitate and support the transformation that I think we all know needs to take place to make it the village of the future, so to speak. So there's still a bit of work. We have some meetings set up with senior staff from the city to make sure that we're aligning with the process that makes most sense from the city side of things. But we'll continue to keep you informed and engaged in that if you like.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I would love that. So even though with the City of Toronto budget and here, there's at least enough to continue sort of the design and feasibility of the transformation.
In very early stages, for sure. As you know, transformation like this is, you know, it's a significant undertaking, so there will be some budget requirements for it in the future. But for the very short term, our intent is really just to make sure we've got alignment between ourselves and city, that we're heading in the same direction. So part of this as well is making sure that we're working with City of Toronto museums to find opportunities for cohesion, streamlining, some opportunities for efficiency, that we're heading in the same direction in terms of how we tell the story of the city region, those types of things. But longer term, you know, the report that we would bring back ultimately would talk about the operating needs as well as any future capital requirements. But we're just not at that.
So while the report talks about us getting a more fulsome update at the end of the year, can I just leave it as an undertaking? I shouldn't have to move a motion that since that's going to be awkward given the municipal election timing, that as early as possible in 2023 we get an update here. And I'll tell you the reason I'm asking. I don't know if you had this discussion yet, but it seems to me that you know, the City of Toronto, through our Truth and Reconciliation Plan, we do want to put a lot into this. But it seems to me that if we're going to make this a real banner TRC action, in terms of getting all orders of government involved in it, and really I think they should want to be, that would be a request better coming from the TRCA. And so do you think we can get an update on the work so far coming to the TRCA board early in 2023, and then I'm going to ask for the same at the City of Toronto level?
So maybe I'll speak to this through the chair. I think we really are we're pleased to hear this. I know Councillor Perutz and us, we speak quite a bit about this, but we obviously are looking to bring the village on par with what levels of operational funding are received for other city heritage assets, like the other city museums, and we are absolutely looking at leveraging any city investment or any municipal investment to garner those federal funds. And so we're really actively drilling into those programs. We have our foundation. The foundation is also looking at Black Creek Village as one of their main campaign sources, campaign opportunities. So I think, you know, we absolutely would be pleased to come back in front of our board in parallel, and I guess concurrently with working with city staff, getting more information from them, looking at all those other opportunities with the senior levels of government and trying to pull that all together for you. So I just appreciate the interest, and I know our team, we talk about it quite a bit, our senior team, as to how to make this happen. We brought it up in the context of, you know, the Indigenous reconciliation, because Councillor Perutz did put that motion on the floor, and it was supported by council. So this is all integrated into the mix right now. So that's the reason we're speaking of it. But we've also had some great success working with our Indigenous communities in terms of getting exhibits, getting historical artifacts. In the village, we want to look at, instead of just cataloging all these artifacts, we want to look at highlighting this and interpretation and having active research going on here at the village, like other, museums of anthropology in other parts of Canada or other parts of the world. We want to have it as an active space. So that is going to take capital. It is going to take budget. It is going to take grants from other levels of government. So it's not a simple solution here, but we really do want to keep working at it. And so I'm excited by the opportunity to report back Daryl and Michael and our senior team, because it also involves other divisions on the archaeology side of it, restoration, etc. I think we'll look to that, and we'll take that as a direction to come back with a more fulsome report.
Okay. Thank you for that. Thanks, Madam Chair. I'll just speak to it briefly so I can sort of flag for the board why I'm asking these questions.
You can do so now. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Thank you. I really just sort of stopped to highlight this out of my own experience on a very local level in my ward. The experience that we had in starting just a placemaking opportunity at Adenonawastana Park and Street in my ward was that the early part of the process was like pushing a boulder up a hill, because everyone was very reticent about getting involved. What if we put a foot wrong? What if we don't do this right? We give offense. So the struggle was designing a process to start. No one even knew which nation we should be talking to, so we had to figure that piece out. So there's a whole lot of really pushing that boulder up the hill in the early days. But on the back end of the process, when it was understood that we had got it right, and I don't take credit for that. That goes to the Aboriginal Affairs Committee in the main in the city. But having done the early part right, as soon as all of this sort of agencies and boards around us realized we had got it right, and it was the Wendat peoples, and they were on board with it and fully endorsing it, then things started to move really quickly. They knew what they wanted, and we were ready to go, and people were saying, oh, you got that right. We have to do something as our part of TRCA, or TRC plan as well. So then the library board jumped in, people were suddenly clamoring to be a part of it. And I anticipate that if we get Black Creek Village right in the early days, that is what's going to happen. So I think we have to sort of really wrap our head around it and get to the point where all of the board is really familiar with what's going on, so that we're ready to respond when someone knocks on any of our doors and says, what's going on over there? You're on the TRCA board. How can I help? What can I do? And so I think we've got to be really familiar with it and its funding requirements, so that with any MP, MPP, or any authority, we're able to say, yeah, you can have a role. Here's what it is. So I think in the new term of office, if the board can be updated as early as possible, then they'll be able to advocate. Those are my comments. Thanks, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Councillor Carroll, and I think staff can take that as direction. Those are good points for us to take in consideration and enact in the new board. Are there any other comments or questions in regards to 7.7? Councillor Carroll, did you want to move that?
Happily, thank you.
Thank you. Seconded by Mr. St. Clair. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. The next item is 9.1.7, Uxbridge Trail Sustainability Fund and paid parking at TRCA trailheads. And this item was held by Vice Chair Heath. Go ahead, Jack.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And this is actually a very good initiative that's taking place in Uxbridge with the TRCA very much involved. There's a couple aspects I did want to draw attention to, and I support the project. Despite my friends, and I've lived in both downtown Toronto and I lived in Markham Suburbia 905. Despite my friends in downtown Toronto, the car, especially on weekends, is the mode of transportation, whether going, 500 meters a kilometer, or 5 kilometers, or 50 kilometers. And so I fully expect that the number, the concept here is paid parking, and they will have a system very well set up. I read it carefully with Uxbridge, the town of Uxbridge, to give out passes, etc. And you pay $4. Generally, you pay $4. People in Uxbridge and people across the GTA and elsewhere are going to be going. Uxbridge is known as the trail capital of GTA, Ontario, Canada, maybe the world. I'm not sure. Potentially there's someone in Uxbridge who said that. But they are not charging the people of Uxbridge. They're getting it free. They do have a system, though, that residents of Uxbridge who use the path will have to have the pass as well, but they'll get it at no cost. And I'm pleased that the system will allow us to, over time, track the usage from outside of Uxbridge and in Uxbridge, because I think this is the way to go for all of our larger areas with trails which draw people from, beyond just like 50 or 100 feet away. So I'm looking forward to it. I've asked at the executive, is there a way to track all the users, including those that got free passes because they live in Uxbridge? Down the road, I would hope that we will adopt a system that covers the whole of TRCA. We're having real troubles in the south end of Rouge National Urban Park. But I don't think that any people who are driving to the location should get off free. It potentially, maybe it should be $2 for locals and $4 for out-of-towners or whatever. And I'm hoping when we see the report, that may be one of the recommendations. But I really like it. I really like what they've done. But I do know there's some things to still work out. Thank you. I'd move it.
Thank you. Are there any other speakers to it? So 9.1.7 moved by Vice Chair Heath, seconded by Councillor Pasternak. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. And the next item is a closed session item. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by Regional Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Rosati, that the TRCA board move into in-camera session to discuss OLT tribunal case PL 171136, OLT 22-002104, and it's 2466571 Ontario Incorporated, 31 and 55 Mountseay Street, files OP 13-012 and Z 16-051 City of Vaughan. All those in favor?
Madam Chair, isn't there a tradition of saying as read so you don't have to go on for half an hour or so?
Right. 31 and 55 Mountseay Street in the City of Vaughan, and received a verbal report. All those in favor? Or sorry, moved by Councillor Jackson, seconded by Councillor Rosati. All those in favor? Any opposed? That carries. Before I turn to you, Dr. Drake, I just did want to take an opportunity on behalf of the board to thank our staff and partners in regards to the May 21st storm event. So in the late morning of Saturday, May the 21st, wind and rainstorms swept quickly through southern Ontario and the GTA. The storm was swift and left considerable tree and infrastructure damage. Fortunately, we have had no reports of injuries or significant damage to buildings on TRCA properties, other than downed power lines in several parks. In the case of one tree at Black Creek Pioneer Village, a large stem narrowly missed, damaging Bruick House. Bruce's Mills had power restored midweek after the storm, while Heart Lake, Boyd, and Courtright had power fully restored almost a full week after, with Parks and Forestry staff doing considerable work clearing of downed trees and brush to allow contractors to replace utility poles and reconnect high voltage power lines. Conservation, Parks and Land staff, with support of other divisions, immediately implemented emergency action plans, directing visitors away from hazards, identifying and cornering off hazards, and then beginning to clear the trees and brush away to clear for emergency access routes. At Heart Lake, for example, the main entrance was completely blocked off by downed high voltage lines. Staff at the park worked tirelessly to clear a secondary access road through the forest and down trees to another exit out to Mayfield to allow visitors to leave the park. This work took many hours of time and was difficult work. Throughout the weeks that have followed, many staff from across the TRCA have put in extra hours of work, and most conservation parks and land staff have been dedicated to clearing up trees, putting regular parks and trail maintenance and forestry work on hold. For the most part, parks and field centers were back in operation within days. Many kilometers of trails were closed and still need more work. Work on trails is being undertaken together with partners such as the Treetop Trekking and trail enthusiasts and volunteers who quickly organized to deal with downed trees across many TRCA trails. TRCA lands in Uxbridge were particularly hit hard. The Uxbridge Trail partners, including Durham Mountain Biking Association, Green Durham Association, and Oak Ridges Trail Association, have worked tirelessly to deal with the downed trees along almost 130 kilometers of trails in the Duffins Headwaters properties. The work of our trail partners has alleviated considerable work for TRCA staff and has helped us to reopen trails sooner. On behalf of the board, I'd like to express my thanks to staff across our organization and to the many volunteers who have worked so hard these past few weeks to clear up the storm damage, recognizing that this work is still underway. Thank you to our staff and volunteers and partners for working safely and for keeping our visitors safe as well. It's greatly appreciated, so thank you. And with that, I will turn it over to Dr. Drake for a few words.
Thank you, Chair Ennis. I just wanted to take the opportunity to address the board and thank everyone for the opportunity to have served on this board for the last, I think, 6 years. It's been something that I'm very proud of, and I think many of the board members may know this or may not, but you know, my career as an academic owes a lot to the Toronto Region Conservation Authority. My PhD research was with the STEP program and at Courtright, and it's been such an honor to, you know, be able to, you know, participate in the governance of the organization over these years, and one of the things that I'm very proud of is that, you know, my graduates from my research group, I have multiple students that are now, you know, staff at either TRCA or Credit Valley. So I'm really thrilled that I'm contributing to, you know, the living sector and the green and the natural habitat and conservation of our resources in the province. And so I just wanted to say, you know, thank you very much. I'm going to really miss being in the board. I'm so sad that we never got to have in-person board meetings again, and especially to Chair Innes and Vice Chair Heath. It's been a real pleasure. You guys have your leadership over these especially last 2 years has been amazing, and I've learned a lot from you both, and thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Drake. And on behalf of the board, I do want to say a very big thank you. Not only does, and some of you don't know this, not only does she serve on this board, but she's also chair of our Regional Watershed Alliance, which is another commitment and another body organization. So, and she always comes out to our events. I run into her frequently at our events. You know, you spoke briefly to the opportunities that you've created in partnerships with the TRCA and our post-secondary institute. So a very, very big thank you. And I know that there's been many times over the last few years, at least while I've been chair, that you've brought very valuable insight. And I think that this shows the value of having people such as yourselves serve on these boards, because you come at it from a different perspective. And through that, we learn and make better decisions. So a very big thank you for all of your support, enthusiasm, and participation over the last 6 years. We will miss you. Our loss is Ottawa's gain, but a very big thank you to you, and we wish you all the best in your future endeavors. And with that, is Councillor Prusa there? Because the time has come for you to are there, before I call on Councillor Prusa, are there any other speakers? We're going to go to Councillor Ainsley. Do you want to move adjournment?
I will move adjournment.